Harry Potter freed Dobby. How can Dobby ever repay him?
Just promise me something.
Anything, sir.
Never try to save my life again.
What can be said about Harry Potter that hasn't already been said? I'm sure we all have a favorite Harry Potter movie. Some love the first and some love the last two. For so many reasons, we all love one of these films. We fall in love with the characters, for each one of the characters will influence our emotions throughout the film series. The scenery is stunning and absolutely eye-catching. The audience can't ever get enough of the battles and the magic, and we all live for the suspenseful scenarios our main characters find themselves in. And I can't help but mention how this fictional world has captured fans all over the world. What if I told you that the best of the 8 different films was Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets? Of course, the other films are just as incredible, just as entertaining and emotional. But this film does so much to set up the rest of the series, it's so hard to ignore. Chamber of Secrets is the base for the rest of the 6 films. One of the first things we are introduced to in the Chamber of Secrets is a house elf named Dobby. And Dobby, who had good intentions, does everything in his power to ruin Harry's chances of returning to Hogwarts. Stealing Ron and Hermione's letters they wrote to Harry, dropping a cake on the Dursleys' dinner guest, and framing Harry for his mischievous act. Blocking the entry to platform 9 3/4, which almost got Ron and Harry expelled. Bewitching a bludger to chase Harry in a Quidditch match, and nearly killing him. All of this was done to try and protect Harry Potter, as Dobby so caringly puts it. All of this done trying to save Harry's life. At the end of the film, we get an exchange from Dobby and Harry where Dobby says,
Harry Potter freed Dobby. How can Dobby ever repay him?
Never try to save my life again.
and what happens when Dobby tries to save Harry's life again? Dobby ends up dying, sacrificing himself to save Harry. Now, this is an incredible display of foreshadowing in a story. Before we are even halfway through a series, we get a foreshadowing of a death that will happen in one of the final films. And it is a death that will really bring us to tears every time. And we have only scratched the surface. We get an awkward scene where Harry first meets Gilderoy Lockhart, and shortly after that interaction, the Malfoys bring their deviant and obnoxious behavior towards Harry and the Weasleys. In this moment, unknowingly, Harry is in the presence of the first Horcrux. Lucius slips Tom Riddle's diary into Jenny's bucket of books, and the diary is the audience's first experience with dark magic that is a Horcrux. And now we are introduced to Horcruxes, and Horcruxes end up being one of the most impactful magical objects we learn about in the entire film series, because they are the link to defeating He Who Must Not Be Named. Riddle's diary now comes into play, and we get an introduction to Tom Riddle. Tom is Voldemort, and finding out shortly after that Voldemort is also the heir to Slytherin. Being the heir to Slytherin and speaking Parselmouth are two sides of the same galleon, and we hear Dumbledore say that Voldemort transferred some of his own powers to Harry when Voldemort mistakenly creates Harry as a Horcrux. The Basilisk is probably one of the most relative, how the Basilisk links to being one of the many things that can destroy a Horcrux, which again tracks all the way to the final film. Harry destroys Riddle's diary with a basilisk fang, right after stabbing the basilisk with the sword of Godric Gryffindor. And that small victory will lead to the final victory of the series in defeating Voldemort, with a basilisk fang and the sword to destroy two final Horcruxes. We hear that Hagrid was expelled from Hogwarts, and, well, he isn't allowed to use magic. But he doesn't actually ever tell us why. But in the Chamber of Secrets, we learn that Tom Riddle framed Hagrid for opening the chamber, and he uses Hagrid's acromantula as the beast from the chamber that is the reason for the killings. Hagrid is sent back to Azkaban, but not before we learn about the spiders. There we meet Aragog and his terrifying 8-legged family, and the death of Aragog later in the 6th film, Half-Blood Prince, is what helps Harry obtain a memory from Professor Slughorn. And in this memory, we see how Voldemort learned how a Horcrux functions. This film is loaded with so many links to the final 2 films. The film has a direct relationship to the way the rest of the series will play out. How this movie directly correlates with the Deathly Hallows is nearly mind-bending. It is almost like magic. Each Harry Potter film has something special and gives us another piece of the puzzle. When you really start to dig into them, you realize the trail of chocolate frogs the story leaves behind for the audience to follow. And it's one of the reasons this film series is such a delight. It's one of the many reasons I think Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets is the absolute best in the film series.